Hello there, and welcome to the Leeds That podcast. My name is Dara Cunningham, and I'm joined by Rocco Dean.
Hello there.
You stole my line, Rocco.
Well, you're not going to be able to say it, are you? Someone's got to say it.
I just did say. I said hello there, welcome to the Leeds That podcast. I
I'm
always
all
get it
over the
in.
shop. I don't know what I'm doing.
You don't know what you're doing. We've heard that. We've heard that this weekend. So before we get into it, thanks very much for everyone who's joined us on the live and for anyone who'll listen afterwards. Hope you enjoyed the pod. James, unfortunately, cannot be with us today. I think he's got a couple of sick kiddos at home, which has precluded him. But as you can see from the timing of this podcast being on just after 8, he has obviously done all the admin, because if we was left to me and Rocco, we wouldn't get on till closer to 8:30 with lots of problems. So
We,
with
we
that,
really need him tonight as well. We needed our
we do
adjudicator, I
actually.
think.
We need a referee, don't we? Because you're
Yeah.
going to present a case very much in the pro Farke side of the ring, and I'm going to be on the opposite side of the ring, which I don't feel overly comfortable about. But we'll discuss all that. But I think you've got some really interesting points to make, actually. So I'm actually curious to debate this with you today. But it will be an interesting podcast because actually, I think everyone else has pretty much been on the Farker's Got to Go train, whereas you're very much come from a different angle. So let's see what we have to offer there. And then for anyone who is listening live, please feel free to throw in a few comments there. We'll read them out as we go, but particularly towards the end, we might spend 5 minutes going through some good comments there if you throw them in there, please. Without further ado, then, Rocco, do you want to introduce our sponsor?
TrainSplit. Absolutely. Yeah. Get on to TrainSplit, and that is the best place to book your trains. You will save a load of money on trains, home games, away games. And I did it myself last week. Booked a train to London, and with the rail card, it basically, the rail card paid for itself. You get 30% off, 33% off an adult fare with the rail card, and 66% off the child's fare. So it's pretty good going. I was impressed. So yeah, get on to TrainSplit. Get involved. There's no Leeds 10 code anymore, though. We've sold those out. We've been advertising this too well.
What can we say? What can we say? Well, as we said, we wanted to partner with TrainSplit because they were very much matching our values with regards to getting fans to and from away games for a cheaper price. So delighted to see that the promo code has gone extremely well and has sold out. So great news, and thanks again to TrainSplit for joining us. So Rocco, straight into the match. I think let's get into Sunday afternoon, 1:45, a little bit earlier than usual. Actually, the match team news came out. You had called Bial. You wanted him out of the team. I'm not sure how you felt about Aronson. You lead us through that. What you thought when you saw the starting lineup.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised about Bial. Came a game too late for me, but nevertheless, I think it was the right call. I thought Strout played very well actually yesterday, so I was happy to see that. Yeah, the Aronson one. I think we all sort of suspected it from what he was saying in his pre-match presser, or he was sort of alluding to it somewhat. So I wasn't massively surprised. And yeah, I'd have liked to see James start, but I wasn't that annoyed. I wasn't that annoyed. I was just, he's got his little thing that he likes doing. It's been working all right for us at home. So I was all right. And Metcher as well, starting up front. I think he went under the radar for me at Forest. Obviously didn't get hardly any service, but every time the ball goes to him, he impresses me. I think he looks like a really good striker. So I was really happy to see him keep his place in the team. Again, not surprised. So yeah. It was, yeah. I think the main one for me was always going to be Strout for Bial. So when I saw that, I was a happy man.
Yeah, I suppose the strike for BL one, it didn't bother me at all. I think there's much of a muchness, which I would also say is a horrendous indictment on the recruitment team that they couldn't find anyone better than a championship defender in Pascal Stroke. But we'll come to that later on. But I was disgusted about, I won't say Aronson starting, because we all know my feelings on Aronson, but I do think he's improved a lot this season. But the idea that Farke would not go with Dan James following a really good couple of weeks with Wales, or a couple of games with Wales, or Willie Nonto in a game where we're at home and we're on the front foot. I just don't get it. I really just the abundance of caution by which he approaches the games is growing absolutely frustrating. And then the fact that he left Dan James on the bench, you just know he's coming on 70 minutes. So everything becomes so much more predictable, and it just screams inefficiency to me. It screams a lack of creativity from Farke's perspective, and I really was disappointed to see that defensive lineup again, with regards to Aronson starting ahead of Dan James, because as a Dan James, I'm a huge fan of his, but I think he carries a massive threat, which he showed straight away when he came on the pitch, and I think he also does the defensive side. There's no question about it. Like I've said it on the pod before, that it was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said that he was the best defensive winger in the world. So it's not as if he doesn't do that. Like I just don't get it. I do not get it.
No, I'd like to see his running stats, because like Farke said after the game about Aronson is covering 13 kilometers a match, which I know is high. I don't know. No, like normally I think 11K is pretty high, so 13 is a lot. Don't know what James normally covers, but yeah, I mean I don't disagree. But then again, I mean I think it worked. I mean, like I'm gonna risk all the listeners just like turning off now, but I think that was the best performance of the season. I honestly do. I think we played really well. We're up against a Villa team who they got to the quarterfinal of the Champions League last season, robbed of another place in the Champions League this season. They've won 8 out of the last 10 games. This is a serious side, and we more than matched them. Like, we deserved to go in ahead, and we had a bad start to the second half, but by the end of the game, I think we deserved a point. Definitely. I think if Strike's header would have gone in, I mean, people would have been happy. And I think my main point, and I'm probably maybe going like accelerating to the end too soon, but like, I just feel like if that was a new manager and that was the new manager's first game, I feel like everyone would be happy. And I feel like that was such a big improvement that we saw at the weekend versus the 2 appalling away games. Like that's why I was just so dumbfounded and disappointed at the reaction, because it wasn't in keeping with what I saw whatsoever. I saw a massive improvement. Yes, we lost again, so it's like horrendous, and we're in the relegation zone. That's horrendous, but the improvement is valuable. Like, it must hold some weight.
You know what? You're actually spot on, but I would just have a slightly different take on it. I think in isolation, you can't say that was a poor performance. Like, everybody pretty much put up a good fight. I thought Okafor was maybe a little off, a little slow to get on the attack when he had his opportunities. But I thought other than that, again, Aronson looked jaded in the second half, started losing the ball all the time again. But thought the defense played well, thought midfield played well, thought Mecha was great, ran the channels extremely well. I mean, there's a few times where he was 3 or 4 yards behind the centre back and he got there in front of him. He showed a really good turn of pace. So I think in isolation, as you say, if there was a different manager, you would say, yeah, performance-wise was okay. But I think that in itself is the problem. That we've seen this before, where we can play pretty well and then we still come out on the wrong side, and it's the same mistakes that are happening again. And for me, I'm probably jumping too far ahead right now. But as we're no, I won't jump into it. We will maybe go through the match. I won't jump straight into to where I think the issues are, because we'll have a broader discussion around that. But I think that is the frustration. And the frustration is we've seen this before. We come out, we play well, we get a goal ahead, but then the other team makes some changes. We stay the same. We start to lose our grip on the game. 70 minutes, winger and a striker comes on. Last 10 minutes, 2 more strikers come on. We're chasing the game. Like, we've seen this script before, and unfortunately, it ends the same way more often than not this season.
Yeah,
but
I mean, what about the options that we have versus the other teams? I think that's a big thing as well, that like people do need to think about. Like, how do you change the profile of our team, swapping the wingers what else can we do? We don't have a 10. I mean, yes, shove on another striker. He does that as well. I don't know. I mean, maybe a better manager with a better football brain than me would come up with something, or maybe people, have their own opinions. But I don't know. When I look at the squad, when I look at his bench, I don't know what more we can really do.
I think there's a few things we could do, to be quite honest. And it's not always about what you do in the attacking side of things. So, for example, I watched Jacobi on international duty. He was man of the match, playing in the centre of a back three. And maybe that's one of the things you can do. I'm not saying even because a back three isn't necessarily defensive. It can be a back five when you're defending, but it can be a back three when you're attacking, and that allows other players to push up the pitch. So there's changes to the systems that we could utilize for the players we have. And I think that's where another issue that I would start to have with Farke. And I say start to have because I really like Daniel Farke, and I'm very grateful for what he did for us last season. I really enjoyed last season. I thought he was brilliant. But I am starting to lose patience with him. And, the fact that he's bemoaned not having attacking options, but he's left his two best attacking options on the bench time and time and time again in favour of Brendan Aronson is frustrating for a fan to see, which is why, you end up with criticism from the fans and chants about make a sub, make a sub, make a sub. But go back to the match before we get into the existential stuff. Yeah, as you say, I thought we started off really well. We were on the front foot, really aggressive in the press, led very well by Metcha up front, and Tosh Longstaff was really good, snapping into tackles high up the pitch, and ended up coming leading to a really good goal. Obviously, we run the free kick. Aronson, I'll tell you the truth, I was watching the match in my brother's house with a lot of brothers and nephews. Brother of mine was, or nephew of mine was over from a foreign country, which we won't mention. But they were all slagging me. So every time Aronson got the ball, they were going, "Oh, he's brilliant. Look at him. Oh, he's brilliant." And I was just laughing. So, of course, he gets the ball and he starts driving in field, and you're waiting for him to lose it. And, of course, he gets the free kick. And they all went, "Oh, brilliant, Brendan Aronson." He gets a free kick. And I just said, "Shut up."
You know what, though? I mean, that was a complete dive, wasn't it? That was typical Aronson, just go to the ground because he shot himself.
Yeah, he just ran too close.
Luckily, he got given this dive.
But
nice footwork there.
Well, it was. And in fairness, I'm not sure if it was a dive, but it was a Premier League dive. There was contact. He was always going. You were always getting it. But great delivery in by Longstaff again. Like who knew he had this dead ball Premiership quality. Yeah. Gulbinson does really well at the back post to knock it back over. Strouk kills himself, Stacks kills himself to miss his header and let it hit off his back. And what a finish by Metcha. World class.
Yeah, poacher supreme. It's such a funny goal, wasn't it? And since then I've seen obviously the VAR. I mean, God, it was awful in the ground. I can't tell you. Like, I didn't even know if the on-field decision was a goal or not. I have absolutely no idea what's going on. I just assumed it was a foul on the keeper. Then they said they were checking offside, and I thought, oh, well, maybe it can be a goal. It was horrendous. And yeah, by the time it's given, just get on with the game sort of thing. But it's funny because also apparently his toe was very slightly offside, but there's like a margin for error now in the Premier League, and so that's why it was onside. But then I've seen online today that someone's saying that Metcha was actually offside as well when it hit Stack, and it actually should have been disallowed. So who knows? Who cares? VAR's a load of bollocks. But we got the goal, and great determination, great ball, great determination by Gudmundsson, by Stack. They're all putting their bodies on the line. It's great to see. And another set piece, the land of the Giants pays off again. So, yeah, very, very good start that. Inside 10 minutes as well, wasn't it? I sort of started to think, have we scored too early? And that's one of the things that really delighted me because, we didn't just go into our shells afterwards. We kept pulverising them and we stayed on top for the whole first half. It was impressive.
Yeah, it was. It was an excellent performance. And funny when the VAR was happening, all I could think about was you in that crowd, and I knew you'd be going absolutely mental because it wasn't pleasant and it took a long time and nobody knew what was going on. You couldn't celebrate, and that to me is anti-football. It destroys the entire game. I get why they had to go back and have a look at it, but You're right, though, the toe thing and the draw the lines. He's level. He's just level. You know, like it was the same with Bamford against Palace a few years ago. Remember that one where because he
Oh God,
pointed
yeah.
the sleeve of his jersey. Like, that's tiresome crap, and it's not what offside was there for. Offside was invented to stop it becoming a tennis match where you just kept knocking it over the top.
Yeah. What happened to semi-automation or automation as well? I mean, that doesn't seem to have hardly helped at all, apart from they're not drawing the lines, I suppose. But yeah, to just drone on a bit more about VAR. So like a few weeks ago, I went to a game in Saudi Arabia and the atmosphere was actually amazing. Like the fans were brilliant. The whole game, they never stopped singing. The only time they stopped was when the goals went in. They scored 2 goals and both times there was like VAR checks for like 3 minutes. Like a hush, the ball hit the net. And after like a second cheering, there was like a hush that came over the stadium and everyone's just stood around waiting. It's just absolutely mad. It's anti-football. They just have to do it quicker. Fair enough, they're not going to get rid of VAR, but they have to do it quicker. They have to try so much harder. I don't understand in this day and age how it can take so long. Have more people doing it. Just do it miles better. It's just not acceptable.
Yeah. And I think that goes back to the point of if you're level, you're level. Like this drawing lines in an inch here or there, it's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. But that aside, as you said, I think it was a really good performance by Leeds. And again, full credit to Farke on this one, that he set us up really well. And this is part of my criticism as we end into the second half, which we'll obviously see where we came unstuck. But the setup was excellent. The approach was excellent. Even, I think a few people in the comments there sticking up for Brendan Aronson, which I fully agree with. As I said, I think he's improved a lot this season. He played his part in the first half. Everyone I thought other than Okafor was pretty much on it in the first half, and midfield looked back to its best again. Tanaka, who came on for Stack, was really good again. I thought that was probably his best game this season. He was very good against Everton as well, but I thought he was really good now yesterday. But really great first half. But the problem is, and this is where I will get into Farke a little bit, the problem for me is at halftime, the top coaches in the world, who are in the Premier League, are looking at that match and they're assessing it, and they're looking at how Farke has set up against us, and he's done a great job to nullify Villa's attack and to give us opportunities in his approach. And they know what he's doing. They've now realized what he's doing, and they make a tweak, and there's no reaction from Farke. And this is where I think ultimately my criticism of him pretty much begins and ends, in that I think we're not losing games because the lack of players. Like, we're putting ourselves in a position where we can win games and be competitive. I don't expect us to win every game. I expect it to be 17-16, which is a lot of losses. But we're in positions where we can win games, and I think we're being outmanaged. I think other managers are making 3, 4, 5 subs, well, maybe 3 or 4 subs before we're making any. They're adjusting and tweaking their systems, and they know in their heads that they have 70 minutes to do whatever they want. So pretty much from half time to the 70th minute, they can do whatever they want, and we won't adjust. Farke will not adjust. Remember, Bielsa used to change formation every 5 seconds when a manager would do that. Yeah. So obviously we go into the second half, and they bring on two players to completely change their left side. A left back for Luca Digne, Maatsen, and then Daniel Malen. And I know a little bit about Malen, ironically, from playing FIFA. One of his stats is that he's like incredibly fast. So straight away you knew it was going to be looking for balls in behind and to be more on the attacking foot. And we just let them. The first 3 or 4 minutes, they were just absolutely all over us. I mean, people say, well, what would you do differently? Well, if they've changed our left side, we attack on our left side. There's one simple thing. Or if we get a ball, just shift it over to the left, try and play everything on the left. Because if they want it on the other side of the pitch, we'll play it on this side and just take the sting out of them for 5 minutes. Maybe, now look, I'm no tactical genius. That's one way of dealing with a team that wants to attack you down the left. I know the goal came to the right.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you reckon to the changes, obviously, that Emery
Yeah.
made?
Yeah, well, I mean, it worked a treat for them. I mean, they came out completely on it, and we were sluggish. Like we were half asleep when we came out, and that obviously was disappointing. And I definitely agree with you as well. It's a good point that you made that, yeah, a manager knows that he can basically do what he wants, and nothing's going to change from the Leeds team till 70 minutes. But yesterday, I sympathised with Farke because, I mean, it was 1-1. Like, yeah, fair enough, we were winning and then we weren't, but it was 1-1. It was 1-1, and we're playing a really tough team, and he was, obviously happy enough with what he was seeing. I mean, I was happy enough as well. I think we should have made the changes sooner. I was calling for them sooner, should I say? But this is my whole thing. Like, I don't disagree with what people are saying. I just think the reaction is too much. Like, it's just so out of proportion. Like the chanting "make a sub," like honestly, it made me feel so uncomfortable. I just hated that. Like, we won all against Aston Villa. We've been giving them a really good game. The players are giving everything. It's just so negative and just toxic when, like, we've just been promoted a few months ago. We're trying our best to adapt and work hard and do it in the Premier League. It's just too much, and like chanting at him, you don't know what you're doing. Like, it's not Jesse Marsh. Like, his sins are not that bad to deserve that treatment. Like, the amount of managers who haven't known what they're doing at Elland Road that I think back over the years and compare them to Farke, it's just not fair. I just think it's out of order, really. I was really upset, to be honest, afterwards. So yeah, no, I do agree, and I'd have done it differently. But it was 1-1 when he made the changes, and then we conceded. So it was different. It was different yesterday. It's not it. It's the same thing that he did, but the circumstances play in his favour, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on the chanting. Particularly, you don't know what you're doing. I believe that was only a very small section
Yeah, it
of the
wasn't.
crowd.
Yeah,
And like Farke has his begrudgers as well. Like, I think he's not been universally liked since he's come in, and people, I see people criticizing him, and you're kind of going, what? Like, even about the championship, and you're going, 192 points, I think it was, over the course of 2 seasons. Like,
should
what's
have been 200.
Yeah, and we only lost, what was this, 15 games? And it was less than a 7 or something over those few years. Like, for me, he's going to go down in history as probably the best championship manager in the history of the championship. Like, I think you could give, Warnock obviously has the most promotions, but I think Farke is the better of the two. But I think his limitations in management are there to see now, and I think that's probably where the frustration is coming from the fans. Because, I mean, they're not chanting "make a sub" for that one particular game. That's going back to every game he's managed for us for the last 3 years, where it's 70 minutes when you could be 2-3-0 down. He's still waiting till the 70th minute. And there's a bit of me that kind of says, I've no issue with someone being in a minority of one. You can be in a minority of one and stick to your principles. But when you're in a minority of one, more often than not, you probably aren't correct. You're probably not seeing something that everyone else is seeing. So if 37,000 people are chanting, "Make a bloody sub," maybe Daniel Farke should think, maybe sometimes I should make a sub a little earlier than I actually do. And I think for me, it is that fine margin. Your point you made about not being Jesse Marsh is a great point. He deserves far more respect than to be chanted at like that. Because I think he's very good. I just think he's just not quite good enough. I think there's fine margins. I talked to you actually. It was the last time we did a duo. We talked about fine margins. I said maybe the new players are a little bit better than the older player or the championship players, and those fine margins will get us. And I think that's where I am with Daniel Farke. I think he's a really good manager. His leadership is exceptional. His setup and approach, particularly to the home matches, has been really, really good. His tactical awareness and ability to put a team on the pitch is really, really good. I think where he comes unstuck is at the very highest level when a manager assesses a game and makes a change, and that change is a 25 to 40 million quid sub who can actually have an impact, unlike the subs that be coming on the championship. They can actually change a game enough. They can unbalance a game by a couple of percent, which is enough to get a goal in the Premier League. I think that's where he can't figure out what to do against that. I think he has his game plan, And beyond that, there is no quick tactical analysis that makes quick adjustments that will game managers and maybe be that kind of 12th man that we need. Because I think when you're coming up from the championship and you've got a substandard squad, you need that extra bit of cleverness from the bench to guide you through games. And I think that's why we're probably conceding late. I'll give you a stat on this. Obviously, I wanted to come, I didn't want to come half baked. We've conceded 8 goals in the first half of games this season and 12 in the second half. So 50%, we've conceded 50% more goals in second halves than we have in first halves, which would show that in the first half, our setup is to a certain standard. But in the second half, when managers make tweaks, they have 50% more success against us because we're not adjusting to that. And that for me is the reason I think I'm ready to let Farke go here. I don't like doing that. I don't like saying that. I'm grateful to him for what he's done for us. But I don't see this changing. And I think Sean Dyche had him at Forest. You know, he made those subs nice and early and got ahead. Well, their goal came against a run of play. Like, we were actually all over them at that point. And Dyche saw that and made an adjustment, and they went on to win the game comfortably. And Emery did it to him again yesterday. And I'm just like, sorry, Daniel. Like, it's only going one way.
Yeah. Yeah, and the 3 games to come is going to be extremely difficult for him to hang on. I think last time we spoke about this, I sort of said, they'll probably give him till if they lose the Sunderland game at Christmas, then they might make a change. But I think the way it's gone, the way the fans are as well, I feel like the 49ers will be influenced by supporter feeling, and I feel like he'll go after the next 3 games unless he pulls a rabbit out the hat in at least one of them, I suppose. I mean, would one win even save him? Probably it would. So yeah, maybe he's got 3 chances to get that win. Should we talk about Perry?
Yeah. Let's get on to the second goal. Jesus.
My God.
People I've seen a little bit of criticism of Stroke, but I think it was a tackle he had to go for. So I think we can just put that to bed straight away.
I think take man or ball. He was clean through, wasn't he? I think it was a smart foul, really. Oh, and it's Goodmanson really that messed up, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. He'd slipped, and Stroke's outside the box. He has to go for it. If he doesn't throw himself at that, we're all going absolutely crazy, because the alternative to throwing yourself at it is not throwing yourself at it, in which case the guy bursts through on goal and Stroke's a bystander. So no, forget. Let's put that to one side. But I mean, it wasn't even a good free kick. Like, it was straight down the middle of the goal.
Yeah.
What the hell happened?
It's unbelievable. I mean, I had a great view of it, and do you know what? I came away from the ground, like, I just started to, in my head, start believing that it must have gone in off the post or something. Like, it can't have happened as it looked. It was just bizarre. I've never seen anything like it. I know. I mean, I must admit, I've not actually heard or read what Joe Hart said in defence of Perry, but I'm sorry, I'm just putting that down to the keepers union, because that is bollocks. You cannot not go for that ball. And the other thing is, when you actually look at him, he takes a step to the left before he shoots. He's actually anticipating the shot over the wall, and then he just stands there and watches it float past him. I don't know what to say. I mean, if Meslier was performing like him, there would be absolute anarchy. I mean, God knows what it would be like if Meslier had conceded the goals, spilt the balls that he has. They would be going absolutely mental. I don't know where we go with this. I mean, it has to be Darlow again, hasn't it? But he's not going to do it, I don't think.
Yeah, give Joe Hart his credit. I thought it was a really, really good analysis. So what he actually said was, and I thought it was fascinating. Like, obviously, my background being in high performance sport, I love these fine details that you just don't see. But he said Gareth Bale used to practice those knuckleball free kicks against him, and he said, like that, you just end up looking stupid because you can't see where the ball is going until it's too late, particularly when it's that close. So he analysed, and he said, like, obviously the technique of the ball, the shape of the kicker, everything looks like it's going one way. And then even on contact, it still looks like it's going to the left, let's say. Perry's right, which gives him pause to hesitate. And then the best bit of analysis he did is he highlighted that at its highest point, as it just cleared the wall, which, to be honest, at that stage was probably only about 8 yards out. It was 8.5 feet in the air, so just over the crossbar. By the time it hits the net, it's 5 feet in the air. So that was really cool analysis. Like I really enjoyed that. The only thing I could say in Perry's defense, and I don't particularly want to defend him, is that Joe Hart knows more than I do with regards to this stuff. And I know even myself as a decent level tennis player that when you're trying to explain the levels at the very highest level, it's very hard to say, the reason I couldn't do that is because there's just this tiny bit of extra spin on it that just, amateurs just wouldn't get. So in that, I did respect his analysis. But saying that, I think you made a great point that he made the step to his left, and all he has to do is stick out his arm, which, given the Saka one, which I gave the benefit of the doubt on, which again just went flying over the shoulder and again no reaction, I have to wonder what his reflexes are like for a goalkeeper.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I would say about the free kick, like Gareth Bale used to hit him with some pace, and Ronaldo, like the amount of goals Ronaldo scores from free kicks, and I'm thinking, like, is the keeper just let that in? So, like, I completely get where he's coming from, but this was a chip. Like, he had time to react. I'm sorry, he had to react to that. It was not hit with any sort of pace. But yeah, you're right. So there was one in the first half. I mean, I wrote him off last week, and I was probably overly harsh on him on Sunday. But like, there was one that Watkins curled round the post, and his dive was so late. Like he was diving through the air and already looking behind the goal at where the ball had gone. Like it had gone. They scored one when the whistle had already gone, and I think it was Watkins again actually put it in the corner. He let that one in. It wasn't a particularly hard shot. Maybe he wasn't trying to save it that hard. I don't know. But then there was other things like when shots that go like 10 yards over the bar and he's flinging himself at it. It's like, does this guy have a clue what he's doing? Like, fair enough, he might just be like keeping himself warm or whatever. But yeah, at this point, I'm just scrutinizing everything, and everything he does makes me think he's not up to scratch at all. And yeah, he just looks like a calamity at the moment. It's a big problem.
Yeah, while we have a few people watching there, I'll ask everyone to please like and subscribe. That would do us a great favor there while you're all watching. Little click, please. But yeah, okay, here comes a rant. So, Perry is a perfect example of the absolute failure in recruitment from Adam Underwood. I am disgusted by this level of recruitment. We have spent over 40 million quid on Perry, Beall, and Bornau, or they're 40 million thereabouts. 3 players who are adding no value to us whatsoever, and that money could have gone on pushing the Paixão deal early on to either get him to the club or stop the merry-go-round and go get someone else. So it's an absolute disgrace that we have scoured the world for a goalkeeper who was better than our second string championship goalkeeper, a reserve championship goalkeeper, and we haven't been able to do it. That is a disgrace. That is a failure of epic proportions and worthy of someone's job. Unfortunately, it's going to be Daniel Farke, who is a good and honourable man who has done a good job for Leeds. He's going to end up suffering for the fact that Adam Underwood could not find a goalkeeper better than the championship reserve keeper we started with last season. Not to mention the money blown on Jakob Beall, who I think is okay, to be quite honest, but absolutely no better than Stroke, and Bornau, who got no look in. Although, to be fair, 5 million quid to come to the Premier League. What did Bornau think? Like, I believe he's moaning about his lack of minutes. What did you think? You're 5 million quid coming to the Premier League. Yeah. But that money could have been spent elsewhere. And the idea that Daniel Farke is going to pay for that ineptitude with his job actually makes me sick. And we'll come to Rangers in a bit about today. They've obviously sacked their CEO and director of football. And I think if Daniel Farke goes, I sincerely hope those other 2 people go, because they are responsible for putting him in this situation.
Yeah, completely agree. It's funny as well. I mean, I was thinking the other day, like, we could have just kept Woba, couldn't we? Like, not spend all that money on Beall. So Yeah, there's that option. You know, that would have saved a hell of a lot of money because we've not got anything in. I don't think he has affected our PSR or anything like that. And it's frustrating. I mean, I must say, like I feel, and I think I'm, you know, again probably in the minority here, but I feel like they did a brilliant job up front. I know people complain that we've signed two freebies. I think we've signed two Premier League quality strikers. I'm really impressed with Mecha and also Calvert-Lewin, apart from his chances missed. But the problem is getting them the service, you know. But I don't think we could have got much more than them two, you know. Whatever money we threw at the problem, I don't think we'd have had that much better than them two. I think they did brilliantly there. But then all that other money, you know, you've completely wasted what the good that you've done getting them to by failing to get any service to them because we don't have the right player in midfield, you know, to move through the lines quickly, to be able to create chances. And, you know, the wingers, well, you know, unless Nyonto and James are going to really turn it on, we've really let him down there as well. So yeah, it's so frustrating. And I mean, I was happy with the window. I was, you know, thought we'd, you know, spent a lot of money and bought a lot of players. But you know, at the end of the day, if there's such a bad imbalance in the squad, it's, you know, 6 out of 10 might as well be 1 out of 10. It doesn't matter. You've failed if you've bought a keeper like that and, you know, failed to strengthen the defense and everything else. It's just a pathetic effort, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's disgraceful. It's absolutely disgraceful. 2 years we've been planning for this. I mean, it's not been a secret or a surprise that Leeds have gotten promoted. We were geared for promotion with the highest expenditure in the championship. Expenditure generally equals success in football. Everything was geared towards promotion. We should have known exactly who we were getting. And I think players like Sean Longstaff are actually the epitome of the success that we should have been looking for. You know, he's not he's not brilliant every week, and neither is Stack. And as I've said on this pod before, you know, shock, a guy who's worth 15 million isn't brilliant every week in the Premier League. Like, that's what you get for 15 million. They're not the complete product. It's you want a guy brilliant every week, you got to spend 60, 70 million quid. That's what you pay for. You pay for that high level and consistent at the same time. So the players we're buying are going to be a little up and down, and I accept that. But there's probably players there in reserves of Crystal Palace, Brighton, who we could get for 10, 12 million quid, centre back, maybe a goalkeeper for 4 or 5 million. At this stage, honestly, I'd have Meslier back. I'd have no issue with Meslier if he had to play. I'd be like, fine. You know, he's no better or worse than Perry. I'm sorry, forget about it. So the idea that, you know, 2 years of preparation to come up with these names who are just no better than what we have. I'm not saying they're terrible players. I'm saying they're no better than what we have, and what we have is championship level. So it wasn't that hard. It's not that hard to get better than championship level. There's hundreds of professional footballers out there who are better than championship level. Yeah. So yeah. Ugh.
So
what can you say?
Shall I hold back on my 49ers rant?
No, let's go for it. Go on, get stuck in.
Well, I just think it's just unforgivable is the word I used on Twitter today. And I mean that entirely. Like, it is unforgivable to come into the Premier League with such an inexperienced sporting director. I just can't believe it. But then on top of that, and even worse, is Parag, our chairman, becoming the Rangers vice chairman. I mean, what the hell? This is a slap in the face to every single supporter. It's a shitting on the club. Like, what are you doing? We're Leeds United. We're back in the Premier League. And our chairman's going to spend however much of his time fucking chairmaning Rangers. It's unbelievable. I'm so angry. And I was angry at the time, but obviously not as angry as now that we're in the relegation zone and that it's all coming to fruition, and they've completely let us down. I mean, Radrizzani took his eye off the ball, and how can you not say that they have as well? I mean, it's just disgusting. I mean, they've showed their colours, really. Yes, fair enough. They're planning to do the stadium. We can believe it when we see it. I'm not going to use that as a defence for them because they've not done it yet. They've done nothing for the fans at the moment. And obviously they've done their job in getting us promoted, but that's for them. They're investors. They're an investment company. So they've done that job and we've benefited from that. But I'm just pissed off, really pissed off.
No, you're dead right. And I think it's an absolutely fair criticism. I mean, when you enter the Premier League, which is the most expensive, most high profile league in the world, it needs 100% of your time. I think it's complete arrogance from Parag to suggest that he could do it part-time and or even part-time up in Rangers. I think it's unfair to both clubs rather than being fair to both. And I think one of the big issues I would have with regards to if Farke's time is up at the club is I don't trust these guys to pick the next manager. If you look at how they handled the Rangers appointment of Russell Martin, it was pretty poor. How they handled his departure was pretty poor. So that's the key issue I have. So I mean, a big shock today. Obviously, they sacked their CEO and their sporting director. Don't put them in the positions in the first place. I can't say Underwood and whatever his name is are any better than what they have. They haven't shown that to me over the course of the summer, and we've missed out on more targets than we went for, which was a significant concern. That we missed out on all of our top targets and ended up with second choices. Ironically, the one that we got that was top target was Beal, who can't get a place in the team right now. So that what does that tell you about the recruitment side of things? So yeah, it's a really worrying situation, and it's funny because I had a go at a guy on Twitter today who was mentioning naivety. And I was talking to Danny, who does the Joe Wayman, the Just Joe football show on a Wednesday. She does the girls show. She's really, really good. She makes some great sense. We must get her on here. And she was saying that she felt it was naive of the 49ers with regards to where they are. And she's spot on. And it is that. It's footballing naivety to think that they are in a position to pick out these people who know their football and be guided and bamboozled. Like, they're being bamboozled. That's what's happening. It's Chileno stuff. You know, they're sitting there with a guy who's going, oh, you do this and you do this and you do this. And then they're going, oh my God, this guy knows everything about soccer. And it's not the case. You know, like you sometimes just do the boring thing. Just get the guy with 20 years experience. Like I never thought I'd say this. They're making Angus look good. Angus, who was bog standard, like competent, but like just very average, middle of the road CEO in football. Yeah, safe pair of hands. He's not going to do anything great. He's not going to do anything incredibly stupid. He's fine. And they're making him look like a genius at the moment.
I've got people on Twitter like saying like they're making Orta look good, which I wouldn't maybe go that far, but you know, Orta did know football, as someone said. So yeah, that's fair, and that is one of my concerns. And you know, in terms of the Farke in and Farke out thing, it's just whether they get someone better. And I think people do forget, like granted, we should have sacked him in November, and you know, got the manager that we wanted. But we did go backwards after we sacked him. We were worse under Grazia. In the end, we were worse. And then we were worse again when we changed from Grazia to Allardyce. So, you know, there is no guarantee that the manager is going to be better than Farke anyway. Even if he's a, you know, high caliber manager, it might just not work out for whatever reason. Like Xabi Alonso at Real Madrid, maybe it's a bit different because you're such high level. But, you know, he's not reproducing what he's done at Leverkusen. I don't know. I think it's much easier to get a better manager than Farke than it is to replace, was it Ancelotti? But regardless, yeah, you know, there is that risk. And the other risk is, you know, like one of the reasons Bielsa got sacked was because he kept playing Dan James up front. He kept playing Tyler Roberts. He wasn't playing Gelhardt. New manager comes in, does all three things. So, you know, that's the other thing I would say is there's never been a manager in the world ever that hasn't done things that the fans disagree with. So, you know, calling, you know, the next manager probably will make subs on 70 minutes too. You know, it's just the way that football is. You're not going to agree with everything. So, yeah, I don't know. I hope if they replace him, which I'm sure they probably will, I hope it gets better. But I don't think it's a guarantee, and I don't think it's as obvious a decision as everyone's making out.
Yeah, No, you're right, and it is a gamble. I think it's a roll of the dice, particularly with these guys in charge, because you don't know what they're going to bring in. I mean, going back to Farke, for me, I am willing to roll that dice now because I do think we're going to just find ourselves on the wrong side of too many defeats due to those managerial tweaks I was suggesting. Who we go for, I don't know. It's not my job to know this. Would I roll the dice at this point? Yeah, because I think if we keep him, I think we're resigning ourselves to relegation. Now, look, to be fair, if that's the way we want to go, I think he's the best man to get us back up again. But that needs to be a strategic decision. That needs to be, okay, we're giving up on this season and we're accepting defeat and we're going to get relegated and come back up next season. And that has to be part of a strategic plan. I won't like it, but I'll accept it. I don't think that's going to be the call. As you mentioned, the stadium, there's too much riding on it and it's too early on in the season and we're too close. And I think we're very close to being capable of staying up. So maybe it is time to roll the dice. And look, if we go backwards, going there anyway. If we get forward enough, we're lucky enough to land a good manager, maybe he gets us out of it and we get one more season of this and we can build on top of the players. Well, some of the recruitment's been awful, some of it's been okay as well, as you mentioned, in the forward and midfield areas it's been pretty decent, and Goodmanson's been a good player as well. With regards to Farke as well, I have to bring up this issue. He's criticised the fans for having a go at Brendan Aronson and suggested that mental health was going to play a part in this, and we shouldn't be championing mental health if we're going to be doing that. And I have to say, I really thought it was a bit of a cheap shot. With regards to that, I think if you're going to do that, if you're going to cite mental health as an issue with regards to a player, don't do it on the back of a defeat and criticism. Because you've put him in the firing line, and I mean, how frustrating was it when he ran across the pitch in the second half and just had the ball taken off him and they were down the wing, or down the pitch. So I think the time to do that is actually a rallying call before, in your pre-match presser, to say, look, I think, just to say to the fans, I think the criticism of Brendan Aronson has been over the top. He's doing exactly the job I want him to do. So I think Fanny needs to get it off his back. And if we're going to care about mental health, that's how you do it. And usually he's good at that. So I just thought it was a bit of a cheap shot to throw mental health in there when really he just wants us to stop criticising Aronson.
Definitely, I agree with. I mean, I didn't like it either. I think the fans are unduly harsh on Aronson. God, he's annoying. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm in danger of mirroring what Farke said here. But yeah, I mean, whatever happened to give 100% and Leeds fans will clap you off. I mean, obviously that doesn't exist anymore. Obviously there's history with Aronson, so I get that. But I just think it's harsh. And when he lost that ball, he absolutely killed himself to get back to the edge of the box and helped us defend that situation. And he did get a little sprinkling of applause for that. But yeah, bringing mental health into it, I think it's uncalled for. I don't think he should have done that. And he's saying a lot of stuff now that is annoying me. I mean, I said before the game to my dad, or on Friday after his presser, like I said, he's starting to lose me as well. I'm starting to get annoyed with some of the stuff that he comes out with. Maybe it's because I'd spent 2 hours listening to Bielsa and anything to come down after that. But yeah, he has started to annoy me. And then after the match, coming out and saying we need 6 more wins and a few draws, I think that's pathetic. I don't know. He's so cool, calm and collected all of last season, wasn't he? And he doesn't seem that now. He seems like a guy under pressure. I feel like he knows it's coming to an end. I feel like he knows he's going to get the sack. Some of the stuff that he comes out with, it's not good, is it?
No, it's not. And the other thing I'll add into that mix, which might annoy you again, is this constant issue that he has with his left side. That too many goals are coming down the left side. So stop playing Okafor on the left, and the solutions are there. You play Okafor on the left because you want all your attacking down the left. You play Aronson on the right to shore up the right hand side, and you're surprised that our left side is more vulnerable. Daniel, please, you're not doing yourself any favors here. And then you leave Jack Harrison out of the squad, who is that left-footed, more defensive option in the attacking areas. Who, again, I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but I think he does the job at Premier League level. And I won't be having any of that Forest stuff. Like, he was fed to the wolves there, like being put on at left back. That should just never have happened.
Yeah, agree.
So where do we sit, Rocco? So let's give a definitive answer. Farke in or Farke out? And you can feel free to talk around.
Yeah, I don't have to say too. I mean, I've said everything I want, and just to reiterate, like I say, I agree with what people say. I just think it's just the fans are just they're too emotional. They should calm down and just ride it out a few games. I think give him the next 3 games, because there's no point bringing a new manager in now, regardless. And if he has to go, he has to go. I don't know. At this point, I wouldn't sack him, and I don't think there's any chance I'll sack him. But yeah, see what happens in 3 games. Would you do it now, or would you let him be the in the firing line for the next 3 and then start again?
Reluctantly, respectfully, heavy heart, all that stuff, because I'd do it now, purely because I think the more time you give a new manager, the better. I don't think there's any value in a manager having 2 weeks less and 3 games less. I just don't see. You're gonna have to experiment in some ways, and they're not free hits. Liverpool got hammered by Forest at Anfield. They're not.
Chelsea
they're
are
definitely
inconsistent.
not. They're not free hits. And Chelsea are good, in fairness to them, and so are City. Them 2 and Arsenal are probably the 3 best teams in the league at the moment. But as you say, Chelsea are a bit hit and miss. So no, for me, I think I hope we have a manager lined up, because we've had the international break, we've had time. I think he's reached his limits. I think, unfortunately, as I've said, he's being outmanaged by other managers in the Premier League. And whilst I have a huge degree of sympathy with him with regards to the 40 million that was wasted away on defenders and keepers who aren't good enough to do anything for his starting 11, the fact that he still refuses to play Dan James, the fact that he seems incapable of in-game management and is being outfoxed by nearly every manager he comes up against, I just think is insurmountable. I think that the sample size is there now after 12 games that it's not going to change. He doesn't have the capability to do it. So I look forward to new manager coming in. I hate saying that. Really hate saying it, because I'm gonna miss him. I think he's gonna go down in history as one of my favorite Leeds managers. But yeah, I think it's time to go. And if it's time to go, then better sooner rather than later.
Fair enough.
One last thing. So you will have noticed a few weeks ago I brought up a certain Joe Gelhardt, and now I keep texting everybody every time he scores. And again, another goal the weekend. So literally the hottest, one of the top 3-4 players in the championship at the moment. I'll go back to my previous point. If you have a young player who's in the top few in the championship doing the business, you've got to reevaluate what your plan was to sell him or to keep him on loan, because you can't buy confidence. And some of the finishes, like, it's just chance goal. And he knows exactly what he's doing. You see it, the ball's clipped through to him, and he knows control, it's going bottom left, control, bottom right, control, chip to keeper. He knows exactly what he's doing. I would parachute him straight into our squad and see if that continues. Give him a chance in front of a keeper, because someone in that type of form, why not? And we've got nothing to lose. What do you reckon?
I agree. We've got nothing to lose, yeah. And why not? I mean, it's like Jared Bowen, isn't it? Like, that's what he was doing for Hull, playing in that same position, 8 years ago, scored a couple at Elland Road, and look what he's gone on to do. And I always rated Joffy massively high. I thought he was special. I think even like in the second season, he was coming off the bench and making things happen sometimes. He just never did it when he started. The thing that surprises me the most is how slim he is now. How can somebody be slimmer than he was when he was playing Bielsa ball? I don't understand that. But yeah, he's looking very lean and mean. Yeah, I mean, you would want him in the squad because we're short of options anyway, aren't we? So if it's possible, why not?
Yeah, something a little different and it doesn't cost us any money.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think with that we will leave it there. That's a good kind of 55 minutes. So if you're still with us, please like and subscribe, and do hit that notification bell, because often we'll only give about an hour's notice or so before we get online. Busy lives, kids, jobs, wives, hassle, and lots of existential dread of being a Leeds fan. So yeah, please do that, and thanks very much for joining us tonight. And we will see you next week. Thanks very much, folks. Leeds.